All right, welcome into a very special episode of Gridiron Icon. I am joined by my better half and partner in crime, the iconic number 88, Preston Denard. Iconic. We're going off script this week in what I think may end up being a very special episode. We are joined by someone that is outside the gridiron, but no less important, he comes to us from the hardwood. Current basketball coach at Culver City High School. He happened to have played for the Showtime Los Angeles Lakers, winning 5 NBA championships during what I think was the greatest era in basketball and the greatest team in basketball. He was an 8-time selection of the NBA All-Defensive Team, including 5 times on the first team. NBA Defensive Player of the Year in 1987. Little known, as he inched his way into retirement, was the All-Star Game MVP in his Italian stop. He also moved into coaching, 2-time champion, head coach of the WNBA Los Angeles Sparks. I will just end this long preamble with, I know him as Coop, the great Michael Cooper. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I thought you were a girl.
You know what? I got to tell you, Michael, got over it in 3rd grade, and I leverage that on every sales call I have. Email, then I pick up the phone and they go, wait a minute, I thought this was a cute 25-year-old girl. Nope, it's an ugly middle-aged guy.
Well, your voice sounds very, very enticing.
Thanks, Michael.
Cut it out.
How are you doing, sir?
I am outstanding. Okay, go with me here. I'm going to take you back to 1977-78 basketball season. The one most impressive moment, I had a chance to watch my former college partner, and they're playing this team that's one of the top in the country. They're playing them in the pit. Coop is at half court. He intercepts a pass. The center on the opposing team was slow to get back up the court, so he remains in his path. Coop decides to go over top of him, straddle his chin, and bring that ball home and blow the house down. Do you remember the team, and do you know who that was?
First of all, Preston, you are testing my old age and my memory. You know, as we become true senior citizens, our memory comes and goes. I'm going to say, hold up. I'm going to say, I think it was Utah. Not sure. No, you tell me, Preston. I don't remember.
UNLV. They had Reggie Theus. They had all the ballers there. And that brought the house down. That let the whole country know, because it was early in the season, let the whole country know University of New Mexico had a basketball team.
And Preston, first of all, thank you for that memory. I do remember that now.
Oh, yeah.
That Lobo team back then. You know, just how we all ended up there was because they had some racial tension going on.
Yep.
All the players walked off the team. I guess it was 77. And when Coach Norm Ellenberger, the late, great Norm Ellenberger, went out recruiting, he went out and got 8 JUCO All-Americans.
He sure did.
Myself, Marvin Johnson, Mark Felix, just to name a few of us, Jimmy Allen. And the reason why I chose New Mexico was because it was like he said, hey, listen, I'm going to throw the ball up and the best 5 will start. Well, that first year we came there, I think we went 14-17 or something like that. But that second year, that year you're talking about, when we put all the pieces together, man, and we got our defense going, and our slogan that year was "Make it happen." I made it happen on that play because we were about getting it done every single game. That was some great memories.
Oh, yes, it certainly was. And it was so outstanding because to be able to be a part of a program that had that quality of a basketball team. And, you know, the pit, you know, it's named by himself. I mean, it's a great facility, and NCAA tournaments have been there, but to have that team was very special. And I was just proud to be able to say they were my friends because we hung out together. Johnson Jim, and, you know, I had to tell everybody I taught Marvin Johnson how to dribble. Johnson Jim. But he could shoot that ball, but you had great teammates.
He could shoot the ball. But you know what, Preston, although we had a good thing going on that basketball side, UNM Lobo football was good too, with yourself and Robin Cole, just to name it two. And it was kind of poetic to see both the you know, Lobo football had always been kind of on a high already, and now the Lobos was coming back, the basketball team. But to see those two kind of like fit together, and the funny part about it is that we went and supported you guys on football. You guys came to watch us, but it was just a great feeling because you had a lot of professional players to come out of both those programs to go on and do great things, not just in athletics, but in life in general.
Oh, yes. And Stacy, what a great show on earth it was.
Yeah.
Oh man. I feel like I got to ask both of you guys, did the state of New Mexico or Albuquerque give you guys the keys to the city? I mean,
I got a little one to our locker room.
No, we're both on the Hall of Fames of the state as well as the school. That's as far as it goes, I think.
Stacey, listen, I got a bone to pick with you.
Real
quick, and well, you know what? I'm looking at your backdrop there, and I like the fact that you got Preston's uniform up there. It's just that you got the wrong 21 up there. You got Conrail instead of
Michael, I got a spot for your jersey. You just got to send it. I mean,
so next time I come on the show, it'll be back there for sure.
You have my word. I have to confess, I can't do a 360 of this room, but I have a guy you may know framed on the other wall, which is his name's Urban Magic Johnson. Maybe you've heard of him.
Okay, you're in the house, man.
But listen, listen, as a kid, I wish I'd had my high school buddies in here. I tried to be Michael Cooper because, one, I couldn't play offense. I was terrible, but I could hustle. And I'm literally, you were my guy. I said, I'm going to play defense. I'm going to be Michael Cooper. And I played basketball in high school only because of that, because I couldn't shoot.
The funny part about it is when I came to New Mexico, I averaged out of junior college. I was averaging about 26 a game.
I saw
and
that.
When I got to the Lobos, as Preston had mentioned, we had a guy named Marvin Johnson who could flat out shoot the ball. And his actual nickname was Automatic. Every time he shot it. So Ellenberger was like, hey, I need somebody to play defense. And that kind of started the role for me. So when I went to the pros, then I go to, I get drafted by the Lakers, and I walk into the gym and I see Kareem, Norm Nixon, Jamal. They don't need no more shooters. I got to play. I can score, but I just knew my niche for the team was going to be about defense.
I have to admit, when I was digging around on you, I'm ashamed to admit this. I went, this guy could score. And my whole life, he's been my defensive icon. Even when you went to Italy, you were scoring. Yeah. I mean, it's like you had this gap with the Showtime where you were just Mr. Defense, not just Showtime, the whole NBA.
Well,
I mean, you were the guy.
And Preston will agree to this. It doesn't matter what you are as a player. When you want to become part of a team, and team to me means together everyone achieves more, you'll do what it takes to fit in. And with the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'd like to hear Preston on this when he got with the Rams, is that they had scores and they needed other people to do things. And we find, Magic Johnson arrives. He makes everyone a little bit better than they were, and makes us become more of a team. I knew my niche was going to have to be defense. And then as we go through the years, we pick up James Worthy, another scorer. We get Bob McAdoo. So, there's not enough balls to go around and shoot. So why worry about it? If all you can do is shoot, then you're going to be in big, big trouble, because Kareem, Magic, Worthy got the first 3 looks, and then Byron Scott. So I had to make my way defensively. And but you know what? It was a niche that was needed for our team. And it's about being the glue. And when you put a team together and you have special performances, that makes basketball or sports in any kind of way more fun to play and become part of something special.
And you know what, Stacy? In college, he played the same way he did in the pros. He never changed his game. He always, if he was asked to shoot, he shot it. If he was asked to play defense, he played defense. And what I recall, and even in the pros, Coop, you've always played their number one threat. Am I correct?
Yeah, always. That was going to be my assignment for that night. And it's one that I took personal. It's one that I took a lot of pride in. And you know what? A lot of people are going against people like Larry Bird and George Gervin and Dr. J. For someone of one of your peers to say that you were the hardest player that they ever had to play against, that's more than anything to me. Yeah, it'd be fun to be in the Hall of Fame and all these other things, but I knew that I had gotten my job done. When one of the greatest players who played this game said I was the toughest guy to guard him, that's enough for me.
Oh,
no, that's us. Tell us about that competition with just Larry Bird. That had to be the most special one-on-one defensive battle you've had, but great respect between the two of you. Tell us about what that was like.
It wasn't after our first game, and Larry, I heard, was the ultimate sugar honey iced tea talker. That was going to say anything, but he knew against us, against the Lakers, it wasn't about talking; it was about performing. Right. So it was very little talk going on, but you know what? He was a very formidable foe. He was a guy. I played against Michael Jordan when he first came in. Scorers, when they pass the ball to their teammates, they kind of like bend over, or that's their moment to take a breather. With Larry, that was a time you really had to pay attention to him, because he was going to go do something, get an offensive rebound. He was going to set a pick for somebody to get his teammate open. If he had the ball, he didn't always have to score. He was going to hit somebody for a great pass, or one of his teammates to do something positive. So that's why I say Larry's the hardest player I've ever had to guard. And those matchups were very memorable. I know every time we went to the Boston Garden, if it was in the summertime, they would close the windows and cut the heat on up to about 90. And when we went there in the wintertime, they would cut the air conditioner on and open up the windows, and it's like 30 degrees outside. So they always had some tricks going on. But you know, we weathered the storm, and it was so much fun. That's the thing I miss most from playing basketball. There's two things. One is the competitive nature against different players, and two, the camaraderie that's developed in the locker room. And Preston, you know about that. Tell us about how you felt being around the players, or when you retired. What do you miss about being retired?
Well, you know, the very same things you mentioned, just being with the guys, being with the fellas, because you're with them in the intimate moments and the battles and all that. A lot of people don't have relationships where you got all those different highs and lows. And so what even went further in that, and Stacey, you'll love this, is cross-sport relationships. So Coop and I, we come from college. He goes to the Lakers. I go to the Rams. Same year, we're rookies. We both end up balling. I get in the Super Bowl. He's in championships. But here's what's cool. And Cooper, remember this. He would invite me to his functions, and I would invite him. And I've been in their locker room, messed around with Kareem and all those guys. And I'll bring up one story. Cooper, I want you to recall this one too. You're doing your birthday. You were having a party. You and Kareem, I think, up on top of the rocks at the Roxy. And I believe the owner was upstairs with, remember, Jack Nicholson was up there. And I was, my wife, you do remember, and myself and my wife were the first people there. You let us in. I guess there's a buzzer. You go upstairs.
Yeah.
And Jack, and Coop says, Preston, you ever met Jack Nicholson? Yeah, come on, he's right over here. Jack's the only guy in the house. I go over there and meet Jack, and Jack turns and he says, 88, Preston Denard. Blew me away. But those are the relationships.
Petey, I do remember that, and that was probably one of the. You know what? It's a place called in LA. It's the Roxy. I'm pretty sure you've seen it, Stacey. It's that thing in Hollywood. Yep. Well, there was another club called On the Rocks. And it was a private club. You had to go up there. And that was the only place that we could go at that time to kind of like just be together and kind of have our own time. And that way you don't have to sign autographs or have other fans and stuff like that. So it was fun bringing Preston up there and being part of that and going to some of the Ram games and things like that. But those are the moments, and I agree with you, Preston. Those are the moments that you miss, because those are special. And to have the guy that says, you can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Man, he was at courtside. I mean, my whole time watching, I thought, God, Nicholson never moves. He loves his Lakers, man.
And you know, he's a big fan. And the guy that's sitting next to him was Lou Adler, who the guy with the hat on. Lou owns On the Rocks, that place there. And he was a manager of the Eagles and a couple of the big band. I mean, some of the greatest bands that's ever played, I think. And Lou had his hands in many things. He's a movie producer. He did a lot of things. But Lou and Jack always came together. And it was fun to see them, and it was so knowledgeable. When Dr. Buss created Showtime with the Lakers, his whole concept was, I want to entertain the entertainers, because when they do a movie and we go watch them and we get to relax and stuff, he said, well, I want to entertain them. So that's how Showtime developed. Is that the city of Hollywood is the glamour and all that. Well, now they got an opportunity to come sit down, relax. even Michael Jackson back then, but he had to come dressed as an old man.
So weird.
Would come and watch the Lakers, and it was so much fun because again, you got a chance to meet a lot of some of your idols. I remember Mike Tyson came to one of our games, and that just kind of like blew me away because I was a big boxing fan with Sugar Ray Leonard and some of the greatest, and then Tyson comes in there, so it was kind of fun to see.
That's so fun. I have to tell a quick story that Preston and I have talked a million times about how much I looked up to him as a kid, but I actually met you before, Michael. Not that you'd ever remember this. It was coming out of the Portland Trailblazer game at Memorial Coliseum back in the 80s, and I waited backstage to meet you. And I hadn't even run this by Preston yet, but you came out, man. Were you dressed to the nines? You were ready, and you came out. You were so nice to us, man. We were just kids, and I just want to say, hey, there he is. All right.
Yeah, that's when I had hair, Stacy. But thank you. I mean,
it's a true story. I'd go to practice.
They don't understand that the fans make the game and they make who you are. So when you disrespect a fan or you don't pay attention to them or acknowledge them, I just think that that's something wrong to do. So we were all very formidable. You want to get out of my picture, Mayor?
How tall is he?
He's 6'6" now.
6'6".
Yeah. So he just picked up another scholarship offer to the University of Riverside. So
really
nice.
Having a pretty good year. His name is Niels.
Niels,
he's getting taller. And I told him when he was probably about 12 years old, he used to say, Dad, I think I'm going to be taller than you. I said, whenever you get taller than me, I will bow down to you. If you ever get taller than me, I'll bow down to you for a week. So I'm kind of nervous now.
Well, just an eighth of an inch there to play with.
That's scary.
That is really scary. Well, you know what? Later in the podcast, we're going to have something that's called a 2-minute drill. It's going to be a fun thing, but we continue to have more questions. But I want you to tell us about what it was like to play with the icon players you played with on that team, the personalities, how it really made a championship mix. I know X's and O's is one thing, talent and ability, but sometimes you got to have that special relationship in the locker room. How did you guys make that successful?
You know what? I think a lot of that attribute to Pat Riley, and Pat Riley was a coach that was attention to detail was his thing.
Okay.
And he made everybody accountable for your actions. I don't care if you were Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Magic, Coop, or one of the guys that didn't play a lot. You always had to be accountable for your actions. And I think that draws a team together because you got a coach that really is going to make everybody be respectful of what we're doing there, of your time and your actions on the court. It only draws us closer together. But, once we won our first championship, that kind of like was the glue. And Preston, there's going to the Super Bowl, that draws you guys together. That's right. A taste that is unlike anything else. And once you get that taste, you just want to do it again and again. And you've got to attribute a lot of our success to Jerry West. Because Jerry was our general manager. He was always bringing in another piece to the puzzle. He didn't bring in 2 or 3 pieces. He always brought in that one extra piece. And once you guys play together, and myself, Magic, and Kareem are the only 3 Lakers that won all 5 of those championships. But then you throw in A.C. Green, Byron Scott, Michael Thompson. You start adding to that James Worthy. And then that brings it all together. So now you become like a brotherhood. You guys, I knew what Magic was going to do almost any time on the court. Wow. And that's a great feeling when it gets that fast.
Mm-hmm. That's just like that quarterback wide receiver combo. When you come out of the break, he threw it to the right place for the play to be successful. That's outstanding.
And Ferragamo always knew. Vince always knew which way you were going to break. And, sometimes it was just an unwritten, you didn't have to speak about it, unspoken.
Right. Exactly. What a great career.
I'll tell you what, watching those, I really mean it, and I know I'm biased, but those Showtime Lakers, there's never been another team I thought came close to that team. I honestly think Showtime Lakers.
You guys get my son out of that picture.
Oh, he's a handsome devil. He can get in there.
Hey,
come on over here, man. But those Showtime Lakers, man, I have a very close friend who put me up to this, Preston. I'm sorry. He said, you got to ask Michael Cooper about the famous Dr. J dunk. the big one. Is that? I mean, I thought you were going to block
now
that.
You guys want to start some shit now. Let's get it going.
Not my fault. I said I would ask. I got mad at him. He's a very close friend of mine. I said, because he loves Dr. J and he knows I love you guys. So he's always talking trash. But he said, just ask him about the Dr. J. I said, come on, he could have blocked that. He didn't want to get the foul.
Hey, Stacey, let me put it down to you the right way.
Okay.
Here we go.
And I saw that whole play happening because once they stole the ball and Doc was he was on the side to my left when he was going. You know what, Stacey? I said in my mind, and I said in my mind exactly what you said. I'm getting ready to have the greatest block of all time. So what I did is I took the angle, but I took the wrong angle.
Wrong.
So had I taken off and got like 2 steps ahead of him because he went way to the left and he came across. And I got into that hoop before him and had been able to get up in the air and get turned, it would have been the greatest dunk. But unfortunately, I couldn't get turned. And the next thing I knew, Doc was right on top of me. And I said, you know what? Let me just get my head out of the way. Because if I'd have tried to block with my left hand, he'd have broke my hand. And boy, but you know what? I always say this. Not a lot of I don't think I've probably one other time, I think, but if you're gonna get dunked on somebody, why not make it the best player?
The one that's going down in history.
Yeah. I tell you what, I rubbed.
They can't show that dunk unless I get paid. I don't care what Doc
does.
There
you go.
Really?
Anytime that, I think Doc did a Hennessy cognac commercial or something like that. I get a call the next day, Mr. Cooper, we want to know if we could show this. I said, how much y'all paying? So
that's a smart man right there.
Praise on that dunk is that they can't show it without contacting me.
Right.
I get mad every time I see it. I feel like they should have like this little subtitle down below. Defensive Player of the Year, First Team NBA. Like, come on now, you're showing one brief moment in time.
Now, just
making it worse. Just leave it be. That is something else.
It was a great move by Doc. I mean, I even asked Doc. I said, Doc, why you have to do me that way? Why couldn't you just have it in one hand and go in? He cupped it and rocked the baby and everybody.
It's brutal.
You know, those years were wonderful. You ended up having a wonderful, wonderful career. I was just so excited about it. Just being the fact that we were friends and seeing you go through that, great success. And but you went on to choose the extension of that career and turned it into coaching. And tell us about that journey. I mean, what a heck of a journey. WNBA championships. You know, you coached here in Albuquerque for the Thunderbirds. Did they call that the D-League back then?
It was the D-League back then.
And developing players and all that. And you just had a great career and a journey in coaching. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get started? And was success always just a measure you were reaching?
Well, Preston, you know this. As we go through sports as young kids, I've always been very blessed. Even back in the 8th grade, I had a very good, fundamentally sound coach. Mr. Keel was his name. And then I go into high school, and my junior varsity coach was a gentleman named Mr. Palmer, and he was real disciplined and hard on us. Then as I become a senior, I get with probably one of the greatest fundamental young coaches for young people ever, Mr. Turgeon, George Turgeon, who passed away about 3 years ago.
Okay.
He taught me the fundamentals of defense, and it was about the fundamentals of basketball. And I was like a sponge back then. I was just soaking it all in. I didn't have the talent to have that ego to think I knew everything, so I was just taking it all in. Then I go to New Mexico. My junior college coach was Mr. Barnes. He was a chemistry teacher, and he taught me the ins and outs of offense, on how to really get open, go down pick, got to come up, get a down pick, get to Norm Ellenberger at New Mexico, and Norm was about eat you up. He just get in the shirt and don't let him breathe. You become part of him. So all these coaches along my way gave me a little bit of something here and there, and then I get with Paul Westhead our first year, and Westhead was very cranial. He talked about Shakespeare, and he talked about books and stuff, and he kind of correlated the two with basketball and reading with that. And then Pat Riley comes. And Pat Riley was kind of like the guy that put it all together and put a big old red bow on it. That was just attention to detail, as I said before, very fundamental, very disciplined. Then he brought the dressing part about it. Hey, Coop, you know what? If you're going to be a good coach, because all coaches do is stand there, he said you got to look good standing there. Because if you look good, it don't matter whether you're winning or losing. They'll always say, hey, he looks good. So, with all of that happening for me, and then the end of my career coming up, and I'm glad I wasn't forced to leave because of an injury. Mm-hmm. I was forced to leave because practice was important to me. And practice I always thought was perfect. So I remember when I left the Lakers, I went overseas and I was playing in Italy. And one day, it was 3 games before the end of the season. And I walked into the practice facility and I didn't want to be there. And I knew it was over with. So once that happened and I get back to LA, Dr. Buss offers me a job in the front office, being what they call a special assistant. I was Preston and Stacy. I was the first player to ever have that title.
Wow.
Special assistant to the general manager. Now that's a title that goes throughout the league now. What that was is I didn't have to get Jerry West coffee, but I had to do all the other things for him. I had to go, special assistant, because there was already the assistant general manager. I was the special assistant. So I had to do the special things, go up front and get his mail, do little things like that. But what I learned from Jerry was how to scout. And that kind of like the whole thing. Jerry told me, he said, you know what, Coop, when you go out, and I asked him, I said, Jerry, what do you look at when you go to a game? Well, we go to like North Carolina, ACC game. And he said, Coop, don't look at the starters, because you got to figure that everybody with a draft higher than ours those guys are going to be gone. What you have to pay attention to is them guys on the end of the bench.
Gotcha.
Those guys are good. They just may not be able to play a lot. But those are the guys that you have to have a feeling that they're only going to get better. So after I spent some time with Jerry, then I'd heard about the WNBA becoming in existence. That's when I started moving in. So when I finished there, I kind of went into coaching with Dale Harris. With the Lakers in '94, I was assistant coach with him. And that's when I heard about the WNBA. And that was my first head coaching stint. And so it kind of like all goes together. And Preston, as many coaches as that you're around and you have a chance to be influenced by, it only makes you better. And usually what that old saying goes is true. Great players don't make good coaches. Average players make great coaches. And if you look at the ones like Steve Kerr right now, Steve Kerr was just an average player like Michael Cooper, and now he's a great coach coaching for the Golden State Warriors. So, it's just about where you want to be in life. And I always want to get back to this game and to the young people with the development aspect. And that's one reason why I am at high school now, because I enjoy keep giving back to this game.
Well, I don't know about the average part, but you guys both played above the bar, and that's why you guys were special. That is so unique, and you have to have something deep inside too when you coach, because now you become that leader, that mentor, that developer. And I heard this the other day, and I really like this analogy. Somebody was interviewing George Clooney, and George Clooney is talking about how he got into directing and producing and so on. And he said, as actors, we are just all different colors. But he says the director ends up being the painter. He's the author. So he has to choose here and there related to scouting which colors he wants to have that makes him very, very successful as a director. And I thought that was really cool. You guys represent that straight up. And there's one thing about basketball. Us football players play it every day in the off season. We don't even stop. Yeah. It's such a great sport, conditioning and everything. And it's universal. So every athlete, I'm pretty sure that played every sport, except for maybe even boxing, and they probably tried to shoot. Everybody played basketball when you grew up as a little boy. And of course, you started at what age? What was the earliest age you picked up a basketball and started playing?
Probably I was about 8. But you know what? I have my uncle. Wow. And his name is Tom, and we were never told to call him Uncle Tom. We couldn't say that.
I can imagine.
Tom, my uncle, but he was a pitcher in the Negro Baseball League.
Really?
And,
wow.
Yeah, and he was pitching when he was young, and then he had to quit because the family needed money, and he quit playing sports to go to work. So we were all around seasonal sports. So whatever sport was in season at that time, he would take us and go play football. And my other uncle was a football player. So Preston, I tried to play football. So in Pop Warner, but I loved to jump. And I remember we were at the park one day and a guy threw a pass to me. I jumped really high in the air. And I was like, I got it. And the guy took my legs out from underneath me, man. I mean,
so that's it.
It's over. And next thing I remember is a guy looking over me saying, Coop, you okay? I don't know how long I was knocked out, probably just momentarily, but that ended football for me.
Wow.
So I
That's interesting.
I try to play baseball, and we're at Pop Warner. I'm up to bat because my uncle really wanted us to be baseball players. So I'm standing there up to bat, and this kid throws a fastball and hits me in the leg, man, in my left side. I started crying. I put the bat down, and I left, and I never went back to baseball. So basketball is more the one that I said, okay, I can't get too hurt from this. So that's when I played. But Preston, I want to ask you this.
Go ahead.
As we all go through our journey, and sometimes coaching isn't to be. And you're a man of faith. What I know something has to steer you that way. What steered you into that? Because I know that you're a singer at your church and you're real involved in your church.
Oh, he turned the podcast around on me.
I love this. Oh, I'm all about this.
You know what? Those are things, I relate that to transitional moves that athletes have to make back into what we're going to call the real world. Now it's time to really take care of the rest of our life because you can only play ball for so long, and our bodies tell us that. But, those kind of things and participations of me as a singer and so on and so on. And we got another guest coming down the road who's lead singer of a national major group. But you have to grow up with that. It's whatever you decided to transition to, that's a comfort, that's a love, that's an appreciation. And then obviously following a tradition. So my tradition was based on my parents. My mom was a great gospel singer. And, she put us in the choir, found out I had a voice, started singing. Somebody thought I could make records when I was playing ball, did that and released some stuff. And, then I decided, now that being a director of my choir, it's just for love because I love singing and I love teaching people how to sing, and voiceover lessons and all that is just very privileged. So I think it's something I just had within me always, and it never left.
Preston, you know what? It's funny that you say that your family came up in the religion because so did my aunts. My grandmother had 10 kids. She had 6 daughters.
Wow.
And they formed the Butler sisters.
Oh.
And I remember used to laying by, my mom was a piano player, and I used to lay by the piano and listen to them sing. Now, I thought I could sing at one point, so I'm going to give you a little hint, and you tell me if I still got it. You don't say anything. That already tells me right there.
Oh, my God.
I'm not going to say a word.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Cooper.
That is so Preston Denard. That's so Preston, because again, that is you. And you know what, Preston, I never said this to you, but I knew you were musically inclined because something about the way you carry yourself is kind of like musical. And I was really shocked when I came down the last time we saw each other. Was that last year or something like that? Yeah, and you told me that you were over your choir. So I can see that coming of you.
Well, you know what? And Stacey, I've never shared this with you. Coop could probably attest to this, but when I played ball, we all have some kind of inner motivating sense about how we played, something that just motivated us. Some guys like to listen to music, some of that, whatever. Mine was when I played, I ran routes as if I was listening to a song.
Wow.
And that was my focus. That's where my concentration was. Coop, maybe you can attest to that, but there's something about getting ready to go up on an alley-oop. It's not just bam, 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 and jump. There's something to that rhythm, something to that flow, because it's about timing, and it just looks musical. And, I know you can attest to that. That's the feeling that I had. So musically inclined, maybe, but, I felt that my entire career.
You know what, Preston, you're absolutely right, because although I couldn't sing, as you just heard, I was still very much into music, and jazz was kind of like my thing, you know.
Yes,
When you listen to great musicians play a jazz song, there's all that coming together. You got Miles Davis, you got Herbie Hancock on the piano, you got Philly Joe Jones on the drum. All these guys are doing their own thing, but yet it comes together as a collaboration. And you're so right. I met Miles Davis before he passed, and he said, Michael Cooper, if I was a basketball player, I would want to be like you. And I said the same thing about him, because you know what, whenever I went up, it's just, it was like musically inclined. I was jumping to something, to go to that next higher note.
Interesting.
To hit that one that nobody else had heard.
Right.
You know, and to finish it off. So you know, music is a big part of my life. It still is today, but it really became a big part once we lose basketball. Now there's a chance to show that other side of you. Some people do it through arts and crafts. Some people do it through singing. Some people, they do something else, and mine happens to be that. So, brother, we're kindred spirits. We got something.
We are.
And I always knew it, but now we really see it coming out now.
This is so cool for us fans. Like, straight up. Like, that is a very interesting combo I just listened to. Very ties in the art with the athletic. That's incredible. I'll shut up. Keep going, Preston.
Well, I was going to, you know, earlier in the podcast, there was a young man that walked in the room. Your son, Niels. Tell us about his game. Looks like he's got some skills. Schools are looking at him to play basketball. Tell us about him.
You know, Preston, I have 4 kids, 3 by my first marriage. This is by my second marriage here. And my oldest son, Michael, was the state player of the year in New Mexico.
I know it. He was
Michael,
left-handed.
Yeah, left-handed. Where did you get that from? He's left-handed, and he got an offer to Arizona State. Had a daughter who is married now. She lives in Alabama. She's a psychologist. And then my youngest son of my first marriage, Miles, is assistant athletic director for University of Texas, El Paso.
Oh, wow.
So all of them have gone on. Miles is a football player. Simone played a little bit of basketball, but she kind of like picked her route educational-wise. But Michael was a pretty good player, but he didn't grow. His whole thing was, Dad, I can't dunk. I said, Michael, there have been Spud Webb, Bugsy Bowles. There have been guys that played below the rim that went on. He said, Dad, that's not for me. I want to do entrepreneurship. So now my oldest son has come down and has a clothing line, 2-1 apparel, and he outfits all the AAU basketball teams out here on the West Coast.
Wow.
Niels. Now, talking about this guy here, he's the one. And again, my kids, whatever they played, all I wanted to do was be supportive of them. I had my career, so I don't have to live through you. I don't do anything through you athletically, because if that's the route you choose, I'm going to be there to support you. But this guy here is the one. He's 6'5", 6'6". He has offers. So UC Riverside, Pepperdine, the Lobos are interested in him. Cal State Northridge, he got a letter from Gonzaga. But I think he's a homebody. He loves his mom. He loves us. He loves home. He's not one of them kids that'll go off to Duke or North Carolina, because that's a long way to get back home. So he is doing extremely well. He's a 4.5 student in the classroom. Wow. And get this, Preston. His likes are, he wants to find out. He's a scientist. He wants to find out the black hole. That kind of
black hole.
Yeah, all that. Wow. Black hole. What are you talking about? I thought I was a black hole. Man, just to follow offensive players up, man. I was a black hole. But no, that's but he is a pretty good basketball player. We just came from Las Vegas this past weekend, and they played in the Battle of the something down there, and their team won. He goes to Crossroads High School out here in Santa Monica, and he's living the dream, and I'm happy that he is. He'll ask me. I don't coach him. He's on my team, but I have another coach that talks to him. I mean, but I coach him as a team, but I don't get on him, because I've tried that with my oldest son, and I actually tried it with him 2 years ago, and it just doesn't work, and I let it go. So I'm happy for his success that he gets, but again, I'm happy whatever he does in life and come, but I'm kind of happy that it is basketball, so I'm enjoying it a little bit.
That's fun. Do you mind if I ask both of you guys this? Because I think from a fan perspective, pro athlete. Now you guys are both fathers and you have sons. It doesn't matter if it's sons or daughters. How do you navigate that emotionally if they like sports, don't like Michael, you were kind of hinting at not coaching your son. And I get that. I have a son and it's like, I get that. But Preston, same thing with his boys. Like, how did you guys as successful pro athletes navigate that whole thing with your boys?
Preston, go ahead.
Well, interesting you say that, because I have 5 boys, and every one of my boys started with soccer, indoor soccer. They played baseball and they played basketball. And my oldest, Ryan, ended up playing pro football as well as playing basketball in high school. And he was a star in basketball. I really wanted him to play that. But he ended up choosing to play football. And so he went on and had a nice pro career and finished in Arena League with Danny White. My next 2 sons also grew up playing, but they didn't go beyond high school and play. My 4th son is a football player right now at Ottawa University. He's a punter and a kicker, not a wide receiver. But my 5th son is my biggest challenge. The best athlete in my family, speed. He's a state champion. He grew up running track. That's the only thing he did, and played soccer fast as can be. 16-year-old doesn't want to do it. That's tearing me up. Now, here's the other side of that, though.
Say that, Preston.
Driving me sick. I'm like, but what I'm answering is your point. I had to stand back and say, okay, I got a son that doesn't desire that path. He's got another interest. And I'm actually going through that right now, as what Coop was sharing. And so I'm literally experiencing it.
Fascinating, man.
I think for me is that I've had that. The one thing that I'm enjoying about my son now, as in my first marriage, I was gone all the time. And Preston, you know that when you're traveling and you're traveling a lot, I didn't really get a chance to spend that time bonding, the father-daughter events at school, the father-son events. So I missed a big portion of that. But again, I was able to recapture that a little bit in the summertime, and it was only for like maybe 2-3 weeks, because then I was back in the training. But the little bit that I did was able to share with them and get involved with them. I like to think that I had made the right decision in not being too hands-on as a parent, especially as an athletic parent. But again, I think the biggest thing I learned from my first 3 kids are the things that I try to give my son now. I'm home a lot more with him. I'm more visible. I'm out there with him. I go to his games. I only talk about the sport when he wants to talk about it. Because again, like I said, I lived it. So I'm not trying to, but if you ask me, I'll give you pointers here or there. Do I get disappointed sometimes when he don't play well? I do. I try not to show it, but he'll go, Dad, I know I didn't play well. And yeah. But I try not to burden him with it. But again, I'm just happy to be part of their lives. And my other kids are grown now and got their things, and we stay in contact. And I just saw my daughter for the first time in like 3 years, because her husband's in the military. So they came out here. But I saw her for 15 minutes, but it was like I had been seeing her the whole time, you know. Love you. We're doing this. We're doing that. Okay, I'm happy. But I'm just enjoying now being a true dad, which I like to think I gave it to my other kids, but I'm just making up for it with this guy here. So he's getting an abundance of love, an abundance of attention. And whatever he does, I'm going to be happy with it. Oh, and the next thing is to be the best husband I can be. Happy wife.
I love it. Love it. Man, this has been outstanding. Well, we're down to the wire. We're coming close to what we call our 2-minute drill. Yes, now, Stacey, you and I, we throw that thing back and forth. I had the last one, so I'm going to let you take the 2-minute drill.
Really? With the great Michael Cooper? Okay.
Yeah, you do it.
Okay. Bring it, baby. Bring it.
Okay. 2-1. I mean, I can't believe this is happening. Okay. I mean, all right. Here we go. 2-minute drill with the iconic Michael Cooper, folks. Okay, first question, dunk or 3-pointer?
3-pointer. It's one extra point. The dunk is more glamorous and more fierce and more outspoken, but that 3-pointer can be so sweet, baby.
I love, God, this
and
is
I
big.
Knew he was going to say that.
Did you really?
I did. I knew it.
You've known him forever. That's wild. Okay, I thought we were going to go Koopa loop here, but okay, 3-pointer. There we go. All right. Pico or Hatch chilies? That's got to be a New Mexico thing.
Ooh, Hatch chili.
Oh, heck
I'm
yeah.
not a real fiery person. My palate is a little tender, so it can't be too hot. But yeah, chili, because yeah, that's New Mexico, baby.
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Okay, I love it. Your favorite movie?
Ooh, there's a couple of them, but my favorite movie would probably be The Godfather.
Ah!
Godfather was a great
Yes.
movie.
I told you,
But I
we're
also
boys.
listen, and you're gonna think I'm a little crazy, but I also love. You remember the movie called The Fifth Element?
Oh, it's a great movie.
That was a good movie.
That movie, I just saw that on TV the other day. I sat and watched it twice. I watched that, so I love that movie.
Oh,
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
We've never gotten that one, have we, Preston? That's a new one. Wow. Okay, your most underrated teammate at any level?
Most underrated teammate at any level would have to be, I want to say Willie Howard.
Oh my God.
Willie Howard.
Yes.
And Willie it was the first junior college player that got an opportunity back in '76 for the Olympic team. He got a chance to try out for the Olympic team. And Willie, man, could jump out of the gym. A little crazy, but could jump out of the gym.
Oh, he was tremendous.
But probably my most underrated, because people didn't think he was that great of a player.
Right.
And underrated, yeah.
Oh,
wow. I feel like I'm at a high school reunion with you two. This is cool. Okay. Your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement, well, there's two of them. One was my son being born. I was there for him. And then the second one was my last son being born. I was there for him. So those are some great achievements. And those, they blow basketball out the water, because to see your sons come in this world and my daughter was absolutely wonderful.
Excellent.
Biggest moment of my life. Totally agree. That's the greatest answer. Okay. Our final 2-minute drill question with Michael Cooper. Who plays you in a movie about your life?
Ooh.
I would say
you can't be Preston Denard.
I'm a little too dark. I would say Denzel Washington, but I'm too dark. He's too light. So you have to be. So probably would be what's the young man that's playing me now in Winning Time? They said exactly right. I forget him. I don't know where they found this guy at, but I mean, he was that guy is on point, man.
Is he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really? His skin color, I mean, everything. He just has a little more hair than me, and I get offensive about that because I like my hair.
Because I
some picture back there. Look at your picture back there, PD. You had a good head of hair, man. Yeah.
I
got all your guys' football and basketball cards, and you guys had some hair. You guys were styling back then in the 80s, man. I can't. That's something. We didn't get to ask you about that HBO show. I felt like they did you dirty on that show. I was like, they didn't make him tough enough. Cooper was tough.
Well, you know what? First of all, Stacey, we're not going to talk about that because that is outright right. It's a made for TV show. Don't say anything. Watch Legacy on Hulu. Have you seen the Legacy one?
I haven't seen Legacy yet.
Watch the Legacy. That is Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers. Watch that.
Right.
That is the point, man. One of the best ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I could go for another hour, but we can't take Michael's time.
I'll tell you what, I promise to come on again for PD.
Oh, love it.
Group part 2, baby.
he's catching up.
We will do it because Michael, when we do part 2, we didn't have time, but as with every one of Preston's close friends, I have to ask, I need some Preston Denard stories.
Ooh,
so prep yourself for part 2, please.
Okay. I'm going to give you the real deal.
Within reason. We don't want his wife upset or anything.
I'll give you that one that cut to the white meat. That kind of.
No. That hurt. I felt it already.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Oh,
man.
what a joy. What a joy. Thank you, my friend. And you are certainly the classic retired player. Push him back out there. Tell everybody about your podcast real quick before we let you go, and then where we can find you, either on Twitter or something.
Find your podcast at is Showtime with Coop, Insightful BS with my Laker teammates and my NBA legends and other people, my glorious friend Preston Denard, among many others.
All right. Upon leaving you, Roy Henson told me to tell you hello. He's a dear friend of mine. So.
Preston, guess what? I golf now.
Oh, do you? Oh, you're coming to the tournament out in New Mexico next
We'll
year.
talk about that. But I do go. I did 18 holes. It wore me out. I slept the rest of the day, but I got out there and I did it.
All right. Well, the ALS Foundation in New Mexico is calling. We're going to have you on the
call
court.
me, David, because I put it together now. I don't know
All
what
right.
irons are used for how many lengths, but I can hit the ball out there now.
I'm driving the cart. I'm driving the cart of you two. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Love you guys. Thank you, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Michael Cooper. I really appreciate it. Join us, folks, on Gridiron Icon, a really special episode with the iconic Michael Cooper. Find us on YouTube, all your regular podcast hosts, Mr. Cooper, Coop, and my much better partner in crime, Preston Denard. We thank you, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right. You're welcome.